cold and grey across Alf's living room. The kind of dull light that softened nothing and revealed everything. Mist clung to the window, refusing to lift. A cup of tea sat untouched on the table, its steam thinning into the air until it vanished entirely. Mr. Alf, worn thin by sleepless nights, sat by the window with trembling fingers resting against the table's edge. His eyes carried deep shadows, as though grief had taken residence within him. Across the room, 16-year-old Nina arranged her schoolbooks on the sofa. She hummed softly to herself, her voice a fragile melody in the thick silence. As he watched her, Alf wrestled with the truth he could no longer keep inside. Something in him settled, or perhaps broke, and he called her to join him at the beach. Nina, surprised, simply smiled at the unexpected invitation. Clouds had gathered outside, but Alf insisted that sometimes the sea was most beautiful beneath a dim sky. The tea on the table cooled, forgotten. By afternoon, the beach lay beneath a heavy silver sky. Waves folded themselves over the sand in slow rhythmic breaths, as if nature were trying to comfort itself. Gulls drifted overhead, gliding effortlessly in the pale wind. Nina walked barefoot beside her father, skipping pebbles across the tide and laughing when they bounced before disappearing. Her hair whipped wild around her face. Alf, however, moved with a slower, heavier pace. Something pressed against his chest, the truth he had carried too long. He spoke to her gently about her mother's illness, trying to ease her into what he feared would shatter her. For a moment, Nina simply held her hopeful belief that her mother always recovered. But Alf finally revealed the truth. The cancer was spreading fast, and the doctors had little hope. Nina fell into stillness, disbelief flooding through her. Tears welled in her eyes, and she stepped back in painful refusal before collapsing into her father's arms, trembling like a child caught in a storm. Alf held her tightly as the wind howled on them, leaving the two of them small against the vast, indifferent sea. That night, Nina sat alone on her bed, moonlight sketching pale lines across her face. The distant sound of the sea drifted through the open window, soft and ceaseless. She hugged her pillow tightly, her eyes swollen from crying. Memories of her mother rose unbidden. Laughter, warm as bread, fresh from the oven, the gentle call to breakfast, the familiar embrace in the morning light. The memories flickered bright and cruel, then faded into silence. Holding her pillow, Nina vowed silently to stay strong for her mother. Outside, the waves crashed faintly, echoing like a heartbeat. 2 weeks later, dawn broke under a curtain of drizzle. Red and white lights from an ambulance blurred across the wet pavement in frantic flashes. Paramedics rushed from the house carrying Mrs. Alf on a stretcher, her skin pale, her breath shallow, her eyes half closed. Nina cried out for her mother from the doorway, struggling against the truth unfolding before her. Alf held her shoulders as the paramedics worked, guiding her gently even as his own heart fractured. The sirens wailed tore through the quiet streets as the ambulance drove away. Through the fading lights and rain, Nina stood drenched and lost, staring after the vehicle that carried her mother away. Night settled over the sterile white hospital room. Fluorescent lights hummed softly overhead. A heart monitor beeped in a slow, delicate rhythm. Nana sat beside her mother, holding her frail hand. Tears clung to her lashes, trembling with every shallow breath her mother took. Alf stood nearby, rigid with grief he didn't know how to express. Mrs. Alfef, with fading strength, gave her daughter final words that asked more of her heart than Nina knew it could bear, to take care of her father once she was gone. Even in her last moments, she thought of the weight he would carry. When Nina nodded through her tears, her mother smiled, a small peaceful expression, then allowed her eyes to close. The monitor gave one last quiet beep before falling into silence. Nina clung to her mother's still hand, sobbing into the fragile quiet of the room. Days later, the house felt hollow. Dust motes drifted through a narrow beam of afternoon light in the bedroom. Nina opened her mother's wardrobe, releasing a soft breath of lilac-scented perfume, the scent of memory preserved in darkness. She touched the dresses hanging neatly inside, her hands trembling over fabrics worn and unworn. A shawl slipped into her arms. She pressed it to her face and inhaled as though she could summon her mother back through the lingering fragrance. Photographs tumbled from a shelf, snapshots of happier times, seaside laughter, birthday cakes, summer picnics. She gathered the pictures into her lap and whispered to herself that good moments never truly returned.